Is Katara able to use bloodbending without a full moon? Hey there everyone, welcome to the channel and welcome to the video. I was rewatching Avatar The Last Airbender this last month, getting a fresh perspective and noticing some stuff that I had missed through my, frankly, numerous watch-throughs of the show. But as I was taking notes, I was able to reach the Southern Raiders episode, and then I noticed something. Katara using bloodbending in that episode seems normal, until you rewatch that episode again. Then you notice that there was no full moon at the time. I made a short about it, watch it first and then we can discuss my thoughts on the episode, and I will explain the video further, since some comments did help shed some light on information that I want to talk about. But here's the video. Was Katara able to use bloodbending without the full moon? In the scene where Katara hunts down the Southern Raiders, we see her using bloodbending, but was she doing this without the use of the full moon? Well, the answer is actually pretty interesting. Before she leaves with Zuko on Appa, we get a shot of the full moon in the sky. This same night we get to see the full moon again. But this was not the night she used bloodbending. She used bloodbending on the next night, as we can see that this scene here takes place near sunset or dawn, meaning she had been flying for at least close to a day and still needed to fly a few more hours to reach the Southern Raiders ship, which would be the night after she left. But does this mean she did it without the full moon? I think this was definitely a hint that she might be able to. Like I said, she used bloodbending the night after the full moon, so the moon would not be at its strongest, implying Katara is just that strong that she may not even need the full power of the moon anymore. Okay, now that you've seen that, let's get into the major talking points that almost everyone brought up. The full moon actually lasts 3 days, so Katara still used bloodbending during the full moon, and I found this to be pretty interesting, and some quick searches do support that claim, so we know that a full moon lasts about 2 to 3 days. For consistency's sake, I will say 3 days from here. Now, I do have a few arguments on this particular point, firstly being that it's not exactly accurate to assume that this is how the moon works in the show, being that the moon doesn't actually follow real-life logic in that show at all. A prime example I keep hearing people bringing up is that in the North Pole episode, the moon goes from crescent to full within just a few hours at most. So in a world this weird and wacky, using real-life assumptions doesn't really make any sense, though I see no harm in doing so either. Unless the authors directly tell us how things work, we are free to just assume. Now, to counter this point, I had to actually retread my way back to the Puppet Master episode, since that was the episode bloodbending is introduced, and throughout the episode Hama makes it clear that only on the night of a full moon can the technique be performed. But the key factor is that she uses the technique to capture people as prisoners. Just listen to what she says.
You should be careful. People have been disappearing in those woods you were camping in.
What do you mean disappearing?
When the moon turns full, people walk in and they don't come out.
So we know that she does her evil deed during a full moon, but how do we determine how long a full moon lasts? This conversation actually answers that.
You won't have any ash bananas till next week?
Well, I have to send the boy to Hinghwa Island to get them, and it's a 2-day trip.
Oh, right. Tomorrow's the full moon.
Exactly. I can't lose another delivery boy in the woods.
We hear it very clearly here. Tomorrow is the full moon, which is blatantly telling us that people only really go missing on that one night. In other words, this is the only night Hama kidnaps people.
Tonight I'll teach you the ultimate technique of waterbending. It can only be done during the full moon, when your bending is at its peak.
A single night per month, and I went through all this trouble to basically present the argument that only one night counts as the night that bloodbending can be performed. Now let's get back to the Katara situation. So like I said in the short, we see the full moon the night Katara left. We see it again when they are flying that same night, but after invading the command tower to get information on the Southern Raiders, there is a short time skip. We see that it's now daytime. Zuko just woke up, indicating this is actually morning, and we can even see that Katara has dark marks on her eyes, so she clearly had no sleep. But the next scene happens at night, so we know that a day has passed. This is no longer what the Avatar universe would consider to be the night of the full moon. But of course, if you use the 3-day logic, then you can argue that this is still within the full moon. But I bring up that logic again because I noticed something really weird here. Remember how the show focused heavily on showing you the full moon, almost like they want you to notice it? Well, on the second night, the moon is nowhere to be seen. On every single angle we get of the sky and surroundings, there is no moon, and they go through great detail to show you as many angles as possible. I will have a slideshow of all the angles of the sky on screen for you. No moon. It almost seems purposeful that they want to greatly illustrate that point. You can write that off as mere creative choices or the art team forgetting to draw the moon. But I think this may have been intentional here, because someone had to think, why are we showing Katara using bloodbending, but not showing that she's fueled by the full moon? Unless of course they wanted to show us that she was currently being fueled by something else. Rage and resentment. Her pain and loss was driving her over the edge, and considering this girl just went through a night of no sleep and doesn't even seem tired or phased, story-wise, it seems like a good way to show that Katara is pushing herself too far, drawing on energy from within that came from a really dark place, even using the singular technique she hated the most. This is how far she is pushing herself, physically, mentally and emotionally, but in the end chose to let go of that darkness and choose happiness instead. Now that part is just my own theory. It's not canon in any way and I don't want anyone to see it as such. But another point I wanted to bring up is, if we apply the 3-day moon scenario in this episode, then sure, we did see the moon in this episode, but there is no way to prove which of the 3 nights this moon falls under, first, second or third. You can argue it's number 1 and 2, and I can argue it's number 3. Neither of us can prove it in any way, unless, of course, I came prepared. Like I said, on the night Katara did use bloodbending, we get shots of the sky in different angles, multiple in fact, and in none of them can the moon be seen at all. Again, it almost seems intentional that the moon was nowhere to be seen. So while you are struggling to use the point that the moon lasts 3 days, I am showing you that this night had no moon anywhere near it. But in that case, you would be arguing with no evidence as your backing, which is kind of silly. Most people will try to bring up the court scene in The Legend of Korra. Actually, let me just play it for you here.
The prosecution's entire case is built upon the make-believe notion that my client is able to bloodbend at will, at any time, on any day. I remind the council that bloodbending is an incredibly rare skill, and it can only be performed during a full moon. Yet, the witnesses will claim that my client used bloodbending at every other time, except during a full moon. It would be a mockery of justice to convict a man of a crime that is impossible to commit.
So from what the lawyer is arguing, a ton of Yakon's victims already know that bloodbending without the full moon is possible, and even Sokka admits himself that he has met enough remarkable benders in the world to accurately state that yes, bloodbending without a full moon is highly possible. Yakon himself states that he comes from a line of the strongest bloodbenders, which is a statement that straight up proves that during the time of the last Airbender, there must have been other bloodbenders laying around. That or Yakon is Hama's secret son, which is a theory on its own and I do plan to discuss it.
Our family has the strongest line of bloodbenders in history. You boys have this power inside of you, and I will teach you to master it.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that it's literally made very clear that bloodbending without a full moon is not just possible, but if you are skilled enough, you can do it, since Tarlok and Amon mastered it as children. So if kids can do it, why do any of you think that the greatest waterbending prodigy we have ever seen would not be able to do it as well? If the issue is Sokka and the gang not knowing that she can do it, then that has an easy answer. Only 3 people saw her perform the technique: Katara herself, Zuko, and the commander. I doubt that commander would ever tell anyone what happened to him. Katara herself would have never told a soul that she even used bloodbending again. She even made sure to outlaw it in the future, since she knew how deadly it is. And Zuko? Does anyone here actually believe that Zuko would tell anyone what happened this day? They didn't even tell the crew what happened on the trip either. So I don't know why anyone would assume that they would blab about the usage of bloodbending. So, narratively speaking, Katara using bloodbending without the full moon is not only possible, but it's not even a plot hole either, since there is no way the gang would know what happened. But again, it's also shown that this is something that can be achieved with pure skill which Katara definitely has. Are we forgetting that in about 5 minutes of time, she both learned of bloodbending's existence, then resisted it, and then learned to use it? And the problem people are having is that she could use it without a full moon, when we are literally shown that this is not an impossible feat. The entire 3-day moon thing is completely worthless the moment we factor in that the Legend of Korra straight up reveals that bloodbending without a full moon is not impossible. And if your argument is that it was made possible in The Legend of Korra and not in The Last Airbender, then I will kindly remind you they are both the same universe. So using an out-of-universe explanation like that doesn't really make sense. Yes, they are different shows, but they are shows connected by the same canon timeline. Unless you are willing to admit that The Legend of Korra is a different continuity from The Last Airbender, in which case I won't stop you, but it doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, let's conclude. Am I saying that Katara can use bloodbending without the full moon? Well, I would say that she has the potential to do so. I have strong arguments to support that she can, but not enough to tell you guys that she definitively can do so. So I will refrain from that. But I do encourage you all to make your own decisions on this one. Use the comment section to debate and share your thoughts if you want. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. Peace, my friend.